How you doing? Welcome back to the Countdown with Dean Kirk at where are we now? Number 6 on my fantasy playlist, peaking out at number 6. And Daisy the Great with AJR with Record Player. Let me read you the first 2 lines. This is an amazing hook. This is one of the most amazing hooks I've ever heard. This record is launched. It's right off the launching pad. Houston, we have liftoff. We're gone. And it's not getting enough support off of radio. I'll get into that in just a minute. I love the first 2 lyrics of the record. Let me read you the first 2 lyrics, quote unquote, brilliant, imaginative lyrics. I've got a record player that was made in 2014. Dyed my hair blue, it came out a C6 sort of green. Yes, I love that. Daisy the Great, collaboration of Daisy the Great and AJR. I'll talk a little bit about Daisy the Great. Now, I never heard of Daisy the Great. More familiar with AJR. Daisy the Great, they're from Brooklyn. Led by 2 women, Kelly Nicole Dugan, D-U-G-A-N. She's from New York. Mina, M-I-N-A Walker. She's from New Orleans. They met in New York City. They both attended school in New York. One of them attended an art school, and I think another one attended an acting school. But anyway, they formed a nucleus of Daisy the Great, and they added 4 other people. It's a 6-person group. They're on S-Curve Records now. I got on with S-Curve Records about a year or 2 ago. They put out their first CD. Well, they put out a CD in 2019, and they came out with the original version of the Record Player song, but I'll get into that in just a minute. AJR, 3 brothers. They mix, they write, they produce. Basically, I guess they produce their own music in their living room. Adam, Jack, and Ryan. They're all brothers, 3 brothers. And AJR, boy, I tell you what, as far as AJR is concerned, I always go back to 2013. I remember vividly their first record called I'm Ready, which, if I remember correctly, XM Radio hit on it pretty hard. Hits 1, and there was XM's 20 on 20, which no longer exists anymore. That channel doesn't exist anymore, but was around back in the 2010s. And which did pretty well for them. It went to number 65 on Billboard's Hot 100, went to number 5 in Australia. How about that? Since then, they became more popular. They teamed up with Rivers Cuomo of Weezer. They did Sober Up, Bang, 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 Way Less Sad, and Weak. They did these recently. And the thing about AJR that I marvel about, they could straddle both worlds of pop and alternative. I've heard them both on the pop stations and on the alternative stations. And indie, they're considered indie alternative, but I would like to throw pop into that matrix too. Now this record, the Record Player song, Daisy the Great, they came up, well, it was originally done by Daisy the Great, made in 2017. It was obscure, shrouded in obscurity, until it got on TikTok, and the song just flew off the rafters on TikTok. Jack met one of the brothers of AJR. He heard the song. He saw the song on TikTok. And like everybody else, my God, listen to this hook. Listen to the way this song begins. This is the catchiest hook, one of the catchiest hooks I've ever heard. I've got to reach out to this band. And he contacted the members of Daisy the Great. They collaborated on this record. On this hook. They built a new song around this hook. I checked Wikipedia's discography and noticed that the song did not chart. I find that hard to believe. It must have charted at least alternative, but did not see it on Wikipedia's discography. They give out information on how there's places where they give out information on how songs did on various charts and in other countries as well. Didn't see anything on this. This record's got so much potential. That's the bottom line. When I read the YouTube comments on this record, and they were very favorable. There was an older listener. He said he'd never heard of AJR, never heard of Days of the Great. But when he heard this record, it was the most fun, catchiest hook that he had ever heard. Or at least among the catchiest hooks he's ever heard. And I agree. When I first heard the beginning of this record, bingo. Put it on my Spotify playlist and then put it on my fancy playlist. Put this thing in the top 10. Because this song could fit easily in an alternative format, adult alternative. This is top 10. Now on pop, on regular pop, it may be a little bit more difficult to shoulder this record into the playlist. But here's how I would do it. And I know this is a fantasy because most radio stations now here in the States, they're owned by these big companies, these big conglomerates. And of course, it wasn't that way when I was a kid, but of course, it's changed a lot since those days. But if it were me, if I was given the flexibility to do something with this record, and I would do something with this record, I'd play it at night. Go on it after 6 o'clock. Or maybe initially go on it between 11 to 5 o'clock in the morning. And then go up to between 6, after 6 in the evening. Let it build some momentum at night. And as it builds up momentum, maybe surely the request would grow for this record. Then slap this thing on 24 hours a day on a pop station. Let it grow. Because original sounding records like this used to be played on pop radio. And it could be done again. And you know something? You could make that happen. You can help make that happen. At least it's possible. At least I hope it's not a fantasy. But speaking of fantasy, this Days of the Great, AJR, boy, I can't get the beginning of this song out of my head. It glides right through your ear, sets up shop in your brain, in your head, and it's there. It's there to stay. On my fantasy playlist at number 6, Daisy the Great, AJR with record player, fantasy playlist of February the 13th, 2022.